Yeah, so, Mr. Yussman, tell me, how are you feeling?
Emotions are running the gamut right now. Pretty much excited, relieved, and grateful. I'm very grateful for the law enforcement down south and who caught them, brought them to justice. I'm grateful that all of us victims, because they're more than just me, can now, sleep a little easier and put this behind us.
When you had heard that Witham pleaded guilty, I mean, how did that make you feel?
Extremely happy. I mean, I never expected that. I had heard early on that there were connections. I'd seen the articles in the new media the past 2 months saying that they believed they were connected. I did not think in any way, shape, or form that he would actually admit to it. I thought I was going to have to go through a trial and, have this drawn out much longer than it has been. And it's been a year and a week as of now. So I'm just so happy at this point.
Can you take us back to that year?
Yeah, I mean, it was scary. I mean, I came home at midnight from playing hockey, and as I was putting my stuff away in the garage, guy comes running down my driveway, yelling, "Police, police, get on the ground," pointing a gun at me. Knew right away he wasn't a police officer, and knew this wasn't going to be good. And it was going to be, I thought at that time just a simple robbery. Turned out to be much, much worse, and the ordeal all night. Having to deal with that, with worrying about my mother, then the ordeal at the credit union, going through that. And then, to be honest, the last 10 months of being sought as a suspect and not a victim was probably the hardest part.
And I mean, can you go through us a little bit of just the entire ordeal of being here,
I mean,
for
yeah,
8 hours?
they can. I mean, they got me at midnight. Basically, I left here at, I don't know, like 8:30 in the morning. But all night long, they had me tied up. I was zip tied. I was duct tape around my ankles. They had blindfold over me at my face. Most of the night, I tried to do what I could to keep calm, keep my mother calm. I tried to remember details. I've spent most of my career in banking. I've done security for most of that time, or at least half the time in banking. So I was taught by law enforcement things to do, not do. I tried to remember to do those things, pick up details that I thought would help the police as the night wore on. I tried to look under my blindfold, during the night. But, like that, I was surprised. I was able to keep calm most of the night. The hardest part for me was actually being in the car the next day, because when you're all by yourself and you're sitting in the car and you think you're strapped to a bomb, your mind plays awful thoughts on you. And like that, I was terrified and wasn't sure if it was going off, when it was going to go off. The police, they were doing their best and trying to do things, but in all that hectic, craziness, it was tough to keep composure. Like that, I was able to do it during the night, but in that car, that was probably the worst, 2 or 3 hours of my life.
I can't imagine what that moment must have been like when they strapped what you thought was a real explosion.
Yeah, how did you do it?
They basically had all these components set out on the table in front of me, and they actually lifted my blindfold and said, "See what we've got here?" And I'm like, "Okay, just a bunch of stuff." And they're like, "Well, it's components to a bomb. We're going to make it. We're going to strap it to you because we don't trust you that you're going to do what we tell you." And then they said, "We're going to put another one underneath your mother's bed just in case you decide to deviate from the plan." During the night, they made me go through a plan of how to get this money for them, how they wanted it, and they asked for an outrageous sum of money that, when they first told me, they wanted $4.2 million. They were very specific on that dollar amount, and they told me nothing less would do, and I told them I couldn't get them that kind of money, and, they basically said, "Well, what's the most?" Yeah, we went back and forth, and basically they said, "Okay, we'll take whatever you can give us, but, you're going to have to go and get the money." So like when they strapped the bomb, they literally just taped it with duct tape around my chest, which was rather uncomfortable. And then like that, it was just the thought the whole night that this could be real, or I positive it was real. But like that, you got to take their word for it. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, so.
And the fact that this didn't just involve you, I mean, they put your mother in jeopardy.
Right, they put my mother, and I knew that was the ultimate plan was, if I was here by myself, maybe I don't go along with it, maybe, but I knew that their plan was to involve a family member, and that would make me do it. And like that, I was very complicit all night. I did exactly what they told me. I never deviated from it. I mean, our training tells you do what they tell you to do, and, hopefully you turn out the best. And like that, I was lucky that the bomb turned out to be fake. I was lucky that the law enforcement who were there were able to get it off me and get me out safe.
Just describe, you have been under suspicion, and that's got to be, looking back on this, that's just got to tear you up, because here you are now standing. We talked to your neighbors. Your neighbors said you shoveled their walk for them. I mean,
I consider myself a good member of the community and everything. I've never had a blight on my record or anything. And for people to think I did this, I thought was crazy. I mean, in this state, especially with what we know about home invasions and everything, I can't believe that their first thoughts were me. And it was very tough. And like I said, it's been almost a year to being under suspicion. Like I said, it was almost worse than the one night, because the one night was one night. This has been ongoing. I've had to listen to, go out in public and hear people talking about it and say how guilty I am and everything. And, I've worked for the credit union for 14 years. It's going to be 15 this year. I'm the CFO. I was just appalled that people would think I would do something like that. And like I said, the stress on my mother, me at work. I mean, I'm just grateful that I had a great credit union behind me. The board of directors stood by me. My CEO has been fantastic. My staff has been wonderful. My friends, my family, they've been very supportive. And thank God, because, it kept me going through all this, because I knew I was innocent. I maintained it from the get-go. Every time I had to pick up the newspaper or read about me failing the polygraph, well, you know what? It was given to me right after the incident. I don't know why it was done like that. They're not accurate. There's a reason they're not admissible in the court of law. They're not that accurate, and I'm living proof that, here I am innocent and I failed it.
Do you feel vindicated?
Oh, now I do. Yeah, most definitely. I mean, with somebody admitting and confessing to it, now at least there's no shadow, because if I had to go to court and he was convicted and still maintained his innocence, there might have been that, doubt in people's minds. I hope now everybody can, look at me and say there is no doubt now that I'm innocent.
Anything you want to say to Witham?
No, I have not. I mean, it was a crime. I mean, I'm thankful he wasn't worse to my mother and I. They could have hurt us. I will say I'm glad that he confessed. I'm glad that he's going to roll over on his partner, because there were two of them, and the other one did not confess to my knowledge. I am interested to know why I was chosen, how they picked me, how they picked the credit union. And like that, I don't know whether I was the first. I mean, I guess it was the first in 15. There were 3 after mine in Tennessee. After the first one happened, I immediately told everyone that, I thought there'd be a connection that sounded too close to mine. Not everybody believed that, but when there was a second, a third, a fourth, I think there ended up being 4 total in Tennessee, but these guys were done for 3 of them. But like I said, now I can safely look at anybody and say I was right.
Where do you go from here?
You know what? I'm in a good place. I mean, like I said, I've kept my job. They supported me. Because of the strength of my friends and family, I have not, it hasn't traumatized me to the point where I can't, function. I've been maintaining all along that I'm innocent. I've been positive that justice would come to me. And it has now, and now I'm just relieved. I mean, I don't know. Tomorrow's probably going to be like any other day, except I'm going to sleep better tonight. I can promise you that.
Anything else you want to say?
No.